This part of the coastline through here is known as the graveyard of the Atlantic. You've heard that before, and there are over 2,000 shipwrecks out there that have been documented and mapped and so forth. There's quite a few nice fences this day and time, but in the old days, just about every property would be fenced. One big reason being that people kept livestock at home. So let's say you had a couple of pigs in your backyard. One of your pigs got out, somebody found it out here on the street. The rule was they could keep it. Now what they had to do is sell it and give half the proceeds to the church for the benefit of the poor, but they could keep the other half for themselves. So if you wanted to hold on to what you had in the way of your livestock, you need to make sure your fence was in good repair. This is the Owens Bedford house on the right. One of the most original houses here, inside and out, and look at how it faces. So if you built that house today, you think that's the way you'd want it to face? Probably not. You wouldn't want to sit on your front porch and look at your neighbor's house. But again, when that one was built, that was waterfront property with a nice water view. This is the Gibbs house coming up here on the left. This is the site of another marine lab in the 1880s. Dick used to work at this marine lab back then. It was run by Johns Hopkins, actually. Just kidding, Dick. About halfway down, this is kind of interesting though, about halfway down to the front yard, actually right across from where we are now, is the remains of an old seawall that was actually built there before the big seawall was built out here. So what that will tell you is water came back at least this far, probably on a daily basis. Now, it didn't overrun that seawall and go under the house, but there was enough concern about that happening that they built that seawall there. But I want you to look at the hammock house here on the left. Frequently thought of as Blackbeard's house. Now, I hate to tell you, but we don't think so. We think Blackbeard probably had a house in Bath, North Carolina, which is North Carolina's oldest town. So it's Bath, Edenton, and Beaufort. There are some stories about this old house, though. You know, in a place like Beaufort or Charleston or Savannah or Williamsburg or Boston or Philadelphia, any of these old towns, all kinds of stories, kind of strange stories pop up. For example, people say, this is the house where they hear screams from time to time. Or, oh, this is the house where someone was pushed down the stairs and they later died. Or this, oh yes, I know, that's the house where Blackbeard had one of his wives hanged. Well, these live oak trees, I'm sure with all these low-hanging branches are what prompted that. But if you look off to the right, again, think about water coming back this way. That's all new construction. So you had water deep enough out there, not too far, where these sailing ships could come and anchor, and then they could get off of the sailing ships on the small boats and come up here to the hammock house and tie them off on the front porch, because this was a house, a kind of an overnight stay sort of place for these ocean-going folks. And so there are some true stories, though, about the house. A couple that I'll share with you. A few years ago, they were actually doing some work in the backyard, and they found a shallow grave out there, and in the grave were the remains of 2 Union soldiers. Now, it just so happens, if you look at the history of the Union occupation of Beaufort, 2 soldiers actually did disappear during that 2-year time period. And so it wouldn't be too hard to draw the conclusion it must be those same 2 soldiers. Of course, they found belt buckles and buttons and all sorts of things. So that's a true story. Now, another true story about this house, and this is very exciting. You ready for this? This will be the highlight of your Beaufort, not just your bus tour, but the highlight of you being in Beaufort. Most of you are too young to remember Sears Weatherbeater paint, but in the 1970s, they had a advertising campaign called Great American Homes, and what they were doing is going all over the country and painting old historic buildings like this house with weather beater paint, and then they'd film a commercial there. And what they were hoping for was that they'd have some stormy weather to show how the paint would hold up. So they come here and they paint this house, and they don't wait very long for stormy weather because they go talk to the fire department. And they bring their fire hoses up here. They bring their fans up here that they use to draw smoke out of a building that's been burning. And they also found somebody who had one of these airboats with a big propeller on the back, and they brought that up here. So if you saw the commercial, after it had been done, you'd say, well, they were sure lucky, because that was a strong storm. That looked like a tropical storm. But it was all man-made. Very impressive. Okay, so that's the hammock house. It's one of the most frequently asked about houses here in Beaufort. It's also one of the oldest, too, obviously. There's a picture of this house, incidentally, about 1900, and it's sitting out in what looks like a wide open field. So these live oaks were not even here then. Is that exciting? Pretty exciting? You guys back there that was working with Dick, was that exciting? Good? Yeah, thumbs up? Okay. Was that as exciting as some of Dick's lectures or not? No comment, Dick. They didn't say. I'll put them on the spot. I tell you, if it weren't for guys like Dick and Larry, we couldn't do what we do. This Beaufort Historic Association is non-profit, which means all year long there's one fundraiser right after another. And bus tours are one way that we raise money, building tours are another. And then a wide variety of special events all during the year. The homes tours, as I said, in June and December. That was a fantastic time. Okay, look straight ahead out there. I see some waves breaking. You can pretty well guess that's the Atlantic, but between here and there's a barrier island right here. I guess this is part of Carrot Island, but right across Carrot Island, there's a strip of water in there, and then that sand dune thing out there is Shackelford Banks, and it's really the west end of Shackelford Banks. If we were to go down to the left, east in other words, about 8 miles, we'd come to the site of Diamond City, which was a whaling community down there in the old days. So some people were making a living at that, but there's also always been a lot of fishing going on here, and a lot of work related to lumber and timber and cutting trees there.